Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive Live. It's our post show for TNA Bound for Glory, which just went off the air a few moments ago, live on pay-per-view, and we have seen a shocker tonight at Bound for Glory. Damian Nelson coming to you here from the Pro Wrestling Report studios. Going to be joined shortly by David Hero as well. A lot to talk about on a very, very, very eventful TNA Bound for Glory pay-per-view where we saw Jeff Hardy become the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion with the assistance of his friends who you can otherwise just call they. Yes, it was revealed tonight that Jeff Hardy, part of the whole storyline with Abyss, part of they, along with Eric Bischoff, along with Abyss, along with Hulk Hogan, along with Jeff Jarrett. Hulk Hogan appearing tonight on the pay-per-view at the end of the night in the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida. In 2010, Hulk Hogan stood in the middle of the ring as it was being trashed with debris from fans at the event. What a night. A lot to talk about. Titles changing hands, alignments noticed, and seemingly a big retirement from TNA Wrestling. And two that we know of for sure. Again, this is Damian Nelson joining you. Thank you for joining us wherever you may be. We're going to be taking your live phone calls all night long. The number you can dial in at is 347-996-5278. Again, 347-996-5278. We're live on Blog Talk Radio tonight, a special edition, and we did make another announcement tonight about our guest joining us on Thursday night on the Pro Wrestling Report on ESPN Radio, our normal ESPN Radio slot. Kevin Nash will speak out for the first time after tonight, his departure from TNA Wrestling. Kevin Nash's last match, not just with TNA Wrestling, but in professional wrestling for now. Big newsworthy night coming out of TNA Bound for Glory. Again, we're going to take your phone calls, 347-996-5278. We're also on Twitter, and we're going to be referring to some of your comments that you sent to us via Twitter tonight. Our Twitter username is PWR Show. Again, that's PWR Show. Also going to be referencing a couple of emails that we got from the show via our website. Our website is pwrshow.com, and we do understand, those of you listening to us on Blog Talk Radio, we are currently experiencing a high level of traffic at our website, pwrshow.com, so continue to attempt to get on. We are working with our servers now to ensure that everybody has an opportunity to speak out about what was a very eventful night where we saw Jeff Hardy for the first time in his career go bad, go heel, and he did so at Bound for Glory, and I'm not saying anything bad about that because it is new, it is original, but there was a lot that may not have been original about it. As people seem to go off on several people here on Twitter as we're following the Twitter feeds and trying to keep this thing in order and trying to follow along to keep up with all of your interaction here tonight. It's difficult to do, but we will try to do so. And when we take your phone calls and when you send us your tweets and emails and such, let us know whether you thought it was a passing or failing pay-per-view. Again, pass or fail. As I said, the big main event matchup was Ken Anderson versus Jeff Hardy versus Kurt Angle. This was, I thought, an excellent matchup. However, all night long we knew that they would be revealed. And we knew that it would have to happen during this matchup because it hadn't happened yet. And we knew something was going to happen tonight. So that sort of left a taint, if you will, on the hype for this matchup all night long. This match early on got into a bit of trouble when Kurt Angle came out, took a nasty spill outside the ring, hitting his head on one of the feet of the barricades at ringside, and actually got a nice swell to his eye. And was able to continue in the matchup as only Kurt Angle can. However, it seemed to me throughout the course of this night and on this matchup that it would be Kurt Angle that might align himself with Day. never once did it cross my mind that it was going to be Jeffrey Nero Hardy over on the TNA side of things. And really, long term, this sets up some very, very interesting potential storylines and situations within TNA. And if nothing else, it certainly creates a great deal of buzz. Again, a solid matchup, a very solid matchup between those three men, Ken Anderson, Kurt Angle, and Matt Hardy. Again, a very, very solid matchup between those three. Jeff Hardy, the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Hulk Hogan making an appearance tonight, as many thought he would, and he did tonight. And there was a screwjob ending on this pay-per-view, but it was a substantial one. And we're going to get your feedback, but of course we need feedback from David Hero, who on last week's PWR Primetime did the Be the Booker segment, and I don't recall this particular thing, the main event result, happening quite the way you thought it might, David. David, are you surprised that Jeff Hardy was the main person involved in this whole they storyline?
Yes, I am surprised it was him. But, here's the thing, Damien. If we would have been paying attention to Thursday night's Impact and reaction, Jeff Hardy was rather quiet. He wasn't a focal point of either of the two shows.
Not at all.
Which really should have tipped us off to say, hey, there's more involved to this than what is being shown. But, I will say this. Many people say I'm cynical and critical, and I can be a downer to talk wrestling with. But tonight's main event was very solid. I thought it told a great story. I thought all three guys worked extremely hard, and there were moments where you didn't know who was going to win that match.
And the way a match should be, especially a match of that caliber. But, David Hero, was this match and the greatness that was this match, was it tainted by the fact that this whole they storyline played out at the end of it?
No, I don't think so. I think, if you want to, read really deep into the whole thing, TNA is showing Vinnie Mac and John Cena, hey, you may not want to make your top babyface a heel, but we sure as hell can do it. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. I mean, TNA, Jeff Hardy sells a lot of T-shirts.
Yeah.
And now he's part of they with Jeff Jarrett and Abyss and Bischoff and Hogan. And interesting. It's just interesting. I think now they can have Ken and Kurt chase after Jeff, but of course now RVD will get first shot at Jeff Hardy, I believe, at the next pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, they can go in a whole bunch of different directions, but let's not forget, there's still going to be that showdown between Bischoff, Hogan, and Dixie on Impact this week.
And many are saying, and we speculated actually, that paper that Dixie signed last Thursday Night Live on Impact, did she potentially sign the company over to Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan, at least from a storyline standpoint? We'll find out this Thursday night on Impact. And I think, David Hero, this might sum it up. We just got a tweet from a username WM26Miz that says, yes, for the first time in a long time, I finally have some interest in TNA.
And that's what TNA needs. They want people to be interested. I mean, mm-hmm. I didn't agree with some of the matches, how they booked them. But, I mean, obviously they're going in a certain direction. And I guess right now they're going to reset because this is the start of their new season coming out of their Super Bowl/World Series. Now let's see what they can do. Let's see what kind of momentum they're going to have building for themselves.
We get a lot of feedback from our fans, our listeners, our viewers all over the world, a lot of comments on our YouTube channel, lots of emails we get via our website, pwrshow.com. And, David, I can't say this was ever anybody's prediction or ever anybody's thought process that Jeff Hardy would be the one. There were some saying, including myself thinking later today, that Kurt Angle was the obvious choice for the person to align themselves with whomever it may be. But I never thought Jeff Hardy, and it seems like most people out there didn't. So kudos to TNA. We'd have to give kudos to TNA for pulling off the surprise.
I mean, a lot of people thought Ken Anderson was going to be the asshole, and and in a way, screw Kurt Angle, and it was the exact opposite. It went completely the other way. I mean, interesting booking, but at the same time, you know, they have a whole lot of things left open that they got to, tighten up to pretty soon, regarding Kevin Nash, regarding EV2, now the Dudleys.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, right now, the TNA booking staff is going to be working overtime to try to bring all these things together.
Indeed. Well, we're going to be taking your phone calls later on in the program here. Again, the number 347-996-5278. David Hero, we got about 500 tweets to try to go through during this program. Obviously, we're not going to read them all, but I'm trying to sort through them and pick some of the best ones. But continue to tweet us. Our Twitter username is PWR Show, and we're going to be also taking some of your comments from the chat room at Blog Talk Radio and the chatmosphere at pwrshow.com. Again, we are experiencing high server traffic on pwrshow.com for several reasons, including potentially, David, our big announcement tonight. One of two big announcements, which was Kevin Nash's final match in TNA wrestling, maybe in professional wrestling for the foreseeable future, and he's going to talk about it with only one show, and that show is the Pro Wrestling Report this Thursday night.
Absolutely. He will be live, calling, of course, in from Daytona Beach, which is where he lives, and he's going to give us the lowdown as to what the real deal is with him and TNA and if he plans on doing anything else after that. I think this has potential to be a pretty big and insightful interview with Big Sexy.
We've had Kevin Nash on several times before. Always a great conversation with Kevin Nash, and this one should be a doozy coming up on Thursday. And don't forget also our guest on Thursday, the Pope, also part of that matchup with...
Oh, I forgot about that. How about that?
Also with Kevin Nash, the Pope. So a loaded show this Thursday night on our ESPN radio show where we bring you 2 full solid hours of some what will be very interesting discussion. But enough about us. Let's move on to other matchups on this card. And the second to last match of the night was Fortune versus EV2 in that lethal lockdown matchup. The winner is David Hero, EV 2.0. I'm shocked by that. I don't see, as we talked about on Be the Booker, I don't see what sense that necessarily makes. You sound stressed.
No, I'm not stressed. It's just where do they go from there with EV2? I mean, Rhino, our good close personal friend, is now available for bookings. Go to pwrshow.com and click on the Rhino link for that. But I mean, are they going to have the one last big blow-off match on Impact now and be done? I mean, that would make the most sense, but, boy, I tell you, I just can't figure out where they're going with that.
Maybe they can't either, but you know what I got to say, Ric Flair's just plain gold every time he opens his mouth. And he did that pre-match with Christy Hemme, who was the victim of everybody's tirades tonight. This match was a bit long. I'm not sure if that 5-minute interval and then 2 minutes after that was necessary. It seemed a bit long because everybody's just sort of waiting for the cage to drop so the weapons could be brought in. Fans surprisingly not as into the match as I thought they would be. Sorry about that. I don't know if you heard that, but I had a little audio snafu there. Fans not as into this match as I thought it would be, which was very surprising. It was a bloodbath, though. There was blood everywhere. But once the cage came down, people were really into it. Good ending. Surprised by the ending in that EV2 won. And let's not forget Brian Kendrick hiding out on top of the cage. I guess that's the new way to sneak in, because from the beginning of time till now, you've snuck in from hiding under the ring.
But really, what does it do for Brian Kendrick? I mean, he didn't do anything extremely special out of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it injected maybe some new life into this EV 2.0 angle, at least in their mind.
It needs to end. It really does. They need to end the angle and let Fortune go off and do something else.
Just got a tweet here from Black and Red Ted, who says Fortune should have won the lethal lockdown match. I don't see why they had EV2 win. If Fortune would have won, it would have been great. All right, well, there we go there. Next matchup, we talked about it a little bit before, but it was Kevin Nash, Sting, and the Pope teaming up to go up against Jeff Jarrett and Samoa Joe. We would see the continuation of this whole Who Is They storyline happen during this matchup as Jeff Jarrett walks out on Samoa Joe mid-matchup. At that point, David, it seemed fairly obvious that Jarrett was clearly part of this day.
Well, it wasn't. It was clear for most of us. I'm sure a lot were puzzled as to why he was doing it. I just wish Jeff would have done something that would have cost Joe the match and not just leave him. There could have been something else in there. For me, what was shocking was seeing Kevin Nash get the pinfall win for his team because his contract's up on Tuesday. He's not re-signing with TNA.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting to see what happens there.
And as we said before, Kevin Nash will be our guest on Thursday's ESPN radio show. You know what? As we backtrack this, David, and as we backtrack talking about what happened over the course of the evening leading up to the ending, I think TNA did a tremendous job setting up the big finish in their mind, which was the announcement of who they is. Because you go all the way from the beginning of the night and you go to the not the lethal lockdown match, but the Monsters Ball match, all the way through this Jarrett thing, and then towards the end, and I think they did a good job building it.
You know what? They actually did. I mean, it was getting to the point where people were like, oh, here they go again. They promise and don't deliver. And then when Hogan came down wearing the black Hulk Hogan T-shirt and the black, jeans and the black headband, you knew that nothing good was going to come out of that.
Mm-hmm. And, I got to give credit to one of our callers from last week. I think it might have been Dallas from Tallahassee, who said that this reminded us that this was the same building that the NWO was formed in.
Yes, it was.
All right.
Yes, it was.
Well,
and look at that. Jarrett, Hogan, and Bischoff were all members of the NWO.
Yeah. The winners of that matchup, as you said, David Hero and Kevin Nash getting the pinfall victory over Samoa Joe. Team 3D made an announcement. You alluded to it earlier as well. Brother Ray coming out along with Devon telling us TNA is the best tag team division in the world. That's not much of an arguable point. They announced that they are retiring, but say that they want one last matchup with the Motor City Machine Guns. A little surprising there. You're announcing your retirement, so you're having a retirement match, and then a hard sell by Taz and Tenay at ringside, well, partially because they were setting up the cage, but a hard sell on whether or not the Motor City Machine Guns should accept that contest, and it seemed like things might have got a little heated between the two of them.
Well, I just think it's those guys doing their job, but I think it'll be very interesting as to how that match is going to work out, because if the Dudleys are truly doing business the right way, they're going to put over the Machine Guns. They shouldn't retire as TNA World Tag Team Champions.
And you know what? I feel that might happen.
That would not be good.
No, and you sort of think that why else would you have the match if they weren't going to put the straps on Team 3D as a goodbye, retire with the title, blah, 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 who cares?
You know what I was just thinking, just changing gears? Imagine the conversations in the Hardy household between Matt and Jeff.
They got to be pretty good right now.
I mean, Matt with his different personalities and attitudes, and now Jeff, being part of Bay. It's like, wow, pretty interesting.
Huh.
Don't you
another
think?
tweet coming in. I think it's very interesting. A couple of tweets coming in, and David Hero, a lot of buzz on this pay-per-view. TNA did certainly just deliver their most newsworthy pay-per-view of the year, but a lot of buzz coming in, and I would liken it to a lot of the feedback and the amount of feedback we get on WWE pay-per-views, but be that as it may, Dave the Mark saying, is that you, Dave Hero?
Of course not.
Dave the Mark saying, still speechless about BFG. There's no way anyone can say WWE matches anything that TNA does these days. Tremendous. AJM302 saying, I'm in shock with Hardy turning heel. Bischoff and Hogan do not surprise me. So we're getting a lot of conversation out there about this. And like I said, the conversation is going on in the chatmosphere at pwrshow.com. David, I'm trying to get in there. I think I need to kick you out in order to do so, but be that as it may.
Hey, I'm not in there. What are you talking about?
I'm just trying to put the heat on you.
Thanks, pal.
Let's continue talking about the matchups before we get to your phone calls. And again, we will be taking your phone calls in about 10 minutes' time. We've got about 10 of you on hold right now. More of you can join. The number 347-996-5278. Again, 347-996-5278. Abyss versus RVD in a monstrous ball match. David Hero, this was a good match as well, in my opinion. I thought that they paced it well and did a decent job of telling a little bit of a story in that matchup, especially with RVD attacking Abyss with Janice in the midsection, then following up with the 5-star and Abyss spitting up blood, and then Abyss at the end of the match saying they are still taking over. They will still be here tonight. I thought they paid a lot of attention to a lot of details in that matchup.
You know, it was a decent match. I don't think it was as awesome as I had hoped it was going to be. Mm-hmm. But considering that the guy had over 2 million staples and stitches in his body, I thought it was passable.
2,225,000, I think.
Yes. But, I mean, come on. I mean, Abyss should have won that match. It would have made more sense. For me, it just took the realism out of the wrestling world when RVD beat Abyss with just one swing of Janice.
Well, I believe what you said on this Friday's PWR Primetime was if Abyss wins this match, then wrestling.
No. I said if he doesn't win the match, wrestling's fake. So, yeah, wrestling's fake. It is. I'm not pleased. Hey, you know what? The only two that truly came through for me was Tara and the Machine Guns. Thank God for them.
And before we get to those matchups, the X Division Championship on the line, Jay Lethal versus Douglas Williams. Jay Lethal retains in really non-newsworthy matchup, but a good match overall.
Yeah, but how about the Shore? That's how they should have debuted on Thursday.
I would tend to agree with that, but still, but if
instead
they
of sending out, all right, go ahead.
If they had debuted tonight in that fashion, doing what they did, would they have been booed out of the building like they were being tonight?
You know what? I think it would have been a little more entertaining. But instead, they came out as the fist pumping fools on Thursday.
Right.
And I just think there would be more buzz like, wow, who is that? Because people would have thought, okay, they came out of the crowd. That's how you debut someone like that, is doing it that way. And I wish they would have. I mean, because right now, the Orlando crowd has already seen them with their in-ring promo and didn't like them.
Yeah.
They're going to be, it doesn't matter what they're going to do, no one's still going to like them.
Mm-hmm. All right, next matchup was indeed EY and OJ versus Inc. Inc. winning that matchup. David, I got to say, and actually I was surprised at some of the feedback we got during this matchup. A lot of people were entertained by the matchup, especially, as we said on Thursday night after the live Impact, Eric Young.
Who were they entertained by? They're entertained by Eric Young, not by the matchup. Right?
Well, most of the feedback was actually that was a good match. It was a fun match. I don't understand what happened during the match. Why did EY attack OJ? And why did he bring a rule book to ringside?
Well, it's because EY obviously is having mental issues right now, and then he probably realized that OJ was wearing a wedding dress during their match, and that probably frustrated him. So why wouldn't he beat him up after the match? I don't know if maybe you noticed this, but I could tell that the tattoo or the crayon tattoo on EY's chest, that was drawn by Jeff Hardy.
Really?
Absolutely. I know Jeff Hardy's artwork anywhere, and that was so him. I recognize those beady eyes anywhere.
Yeah. Well,
what did it do for any of those two teams?
Nothing.
Because the match was so goofy, it took away from the match.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Well, moving on, the Knockouts Championship changes hands, and David Hero, I'll let you talk about this one because I think did you book this one?
I did book that one, and it was the four-way with the 4 knockouts, and Tara, with the handful of tights that nobody saw, rolls up, was it Angelina? No, it was Velvet Sky, I believe. It was one of the two beautiful people for the 1, 2, 3, and she leaves your TNA Knockout champion.
Tara wins
very,
the belt.
Very nice to see. Yes.
That's a bit of a story. Mickey James not Not very pleased with Tara at the end of that matchup. Not pleased as well with Velvet's with Madison Rayne. And they get into a little bit of a tiff at the end of the matchup. Their story now going forward, that's not just this whole Tara bicycle bodyguard thing with the Knockouts division and Mickie James.
Bicycle?
Well, motorbike.
Okay. You know, Madison Rayne has developed into the best knockout on that show right now.
The best?
Absolutely. She is the most animated. She has the most fire, the most charisma. She may not be the best wrestler, but she has everything else going for her. She's always doing something different. You know, when I watched Mickie James come out and cut her promo on Thursday night at Bound for Glory, the only knockout that really was animated was Madison Rayne. Mm-hmm. Angelina and Velvet just sat in the ring, didn't do anything. Tara just stood there, but you always heard Madison Rayne shooting insults back at Mickie James. I think Madison Rayne eventually is going to be the premier knockout in that company.
All right. Well, it was a good.
You're speechless, aren't you?
Well, you know, it's when you speak such truths. What do I need to say?
That's true. Exactly. You need to say Kevin Nash on Thursday night.
Thursday Pope, Thursday PWR, Thursday
No.
Nash.
Thursday is now Big Sexy Radio, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, BSR?
Yeah.
Did you
Why
look
not?
into the marketing department?
Yeah, I'll give Cal the memo tomorrow.
Black and Red Ted on Twitter. Inc. versus OJEY was a good match. I thought it was solid. I don't understand why they just pop up one night and then get on a pay-per-view, though.
Well, they got to get paychecks for some of these guys.
He's just saying.
Well, you know, who from the roster now wasn't on the show tonight? Who is left off Bound for Glory?
I'm sure people will tell us. Tweet us. Let us know. I
Yeah.
can't figure that out right now. I got so many
I can't
computer
either.
screens in front of me. But I can figure out that we do still have the Motor City Machine Guns as the tag team champions as they took on Jin Mi in the opening contest. A tremendous matchup.
It was a spot fest, all right. They threw everything at you. You think so?
I think so. I mean, TNA has a long history of starting out their pay-per-views with that signature X Division or spot matchup. And they did it again for Glory, which I think was the perfect way to start the show.
Well, you like that kind of stuff.
I do.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a very good match. I thought it was very solid. I thought both teams brought everything. They brought their A game. And it was good to see the Machine Guns leave as the champions because, boy, I would have hated to see Hardy's Light against the Dudleys in the Dudleys retirement match. That'd be brutal.
One person left off the show, R_Lashley, reminding us that Amazing Red not on the show tonight.
Okay. Well, that would have been about it then. Because we even had Brian Kendrick on top of the cage. So.
Great.
Oh, Lacey Von Erich wasn't there. What the heck?
Oh, no LVE.
That's kind of heartbreaking. A lot of people bought that pay-per-view to see Lacey Von Erich.
I think they were fine. There was a lot of pigeons today.
Yeah, there were a few pigeons.
Well, that is the rundown of TNA Bound for Glory. You know what? I think overall, pretty good show, David Hero. They told a very good story over the course of the evening. They left people wanting something else, at least an explanation of why this thing happened with Jeff Hardy. I don't know long term though how much Jeff Hardy can add to this whole thing, but it's so obvious what they did though. Jeff Hardy's the last person you expected.
The interesting thing is going to be, as talented as Jeff Hardy is, he's not extremely talented on the microphone.
Right.
So now they're going to put him in a position where he has to speak a lot more often.
Yep.
And it should be interesting how that's all going to pan out for him.
So maybe he can perform a lot better as a heel. We've never really seen it. We don't know. Maybe he can get out there. Heel? Not that I can recall. And if I'm wrong, somebody please let us know. But I can't.
I think they were kind of healing back when Doc Hendricks managed him.
Oh, but they never said a word.
Oh, right.
All they did was, as a matter of fact, you were asking about that Brood jacket earlier in the week.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
But what they did was clearly a throwback to 1996 when the NWO was formed, as I said, in that same building under the same circumstances. You took Hogan, the top good guy in that company at the time, and you turned him heel. They just took Jeff Hardy, arguably one of the top good guys in the company at the time, and turned him heel. And then, as you said, had Hogan and Bischoff and Jarrett still involved in the whole thing. But there are so many other little pockets and folds to this story, such as, what did Dixie sign on Thursday? What is Jeff Jarrett's reasoning for getting involved in that? Because it's against everything he's been in with for TNA for so long. What is next? And, we're gonna have a great opportunity, not only when we talk to the Pope on Thursday, when we talk to Kevin Nash, and then on Friday night in Racine, when we see all these people at the TNA live event in Racine, Wisconsin.
It's going to be interesting. But if I'm Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, and now I have the signed document from Dixie Carter saying I run the company, Hogan's first order of business at Impact is to fire EV2.
That must
I'm serious. Why not?
Yeah,
it would make perfect sense.
Because Dixie brought him in.
Exactly. Get rid of him.
All right.
I'm just saying. You know.
A couple of people also not on the pay-per-view, and again, we appreciate those of you who are tweeting us back in and letting us know. Rob Terry, Desmond Wolf, Magnus, Taylor Wild, Hamada, Hernandez. It's actually quite a bit. Quite a few people not on there.
But those are all people that haven't been on TV in quite a while.
Right, and this is not a knock on any of them, but didn't really notice that they weren't there either. The phone number you can join us and talk about tonight's TNA Bound for Glory pay-per-view is 347-996-5278. Again, that's 347-996-5278. We're going to be calling on you by the area code from which you are calling from. So once we call on you, you will be live on air. Please share with us your name and your location, and then your thoughts on TNA Bound for Glory. Let's first go to a caller who is calling us from the 516 area code. Caller, you are live here on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, how are you? What's your name and where are you calling?
John from New York.
What'd you think of TNA's Bound for Glory pay-per-view tonight?
Well, I got to tell you, I did not know that OJ was bi.
You're one of 18 left on the world that didn't. Oh, Polar. Oh, yeah, that was the announcement tonight, is that he's bipolar.
I mean, that was so entertaining. Eric, God bless his soul, like he's just great. He's a great wrestler. He cuts great promos, whether he's a heel, whether he's a goofball. He's just awesome. I'm marking out for him.
All right. Well, overall, would you give the pay-per-view a pass or failing score?
Overall, a pass. I mean, I'm like David right now. I'm not happy or right. The pay-per-view was fine. It passed. I mean, you know, a lot of things ended. Some storylines are left up in the air. You know, what's going to happen. But I think that now that Jeff is, you know, a heel champ and RVD is going to chase after him, you know, what is the Pope going to do? What is AJ going to do? What is Samoa going to do? They're going to have to do something with those guys because obviously they can't chase after the belts. And, you know, what is Kurt Angle going to do? I mean, you know.
All right.
Going to retire for real?
Those are all the questions that will probably be answered this Thursday on TNA Impact. You know, they got a lot of splaining to do, as they say, David Hero. But this caller, John from New York, giving the show an overall passing grade. And David Hero, do you have anything to add?
I like the pay-per-view. I think it was TNA's best one probably in the last couple of years. I thought it was solid and passable, and
but you know,
might have been right on a lot of the stuff. But
yeah.
You know what? I think that they have the opportunity to make a lot of sense out of these things.
And you know what's interesting is there's so many people who either loved this or hated this. Not seeing much on the in-between side. A lot of people either loved it or hated it, and those who hated it, of course, are being very vocal in a very in a manner that is really reflective of what social media has done to this world. Let me just say that. But it has built intrigue nonetheless. So if you hate it enough to be tweeting at Dixie and saying this silly stuff, if you love it enough to be saying how great it was, either way, TNA won.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know what? It was It was. They won because they're going to create buzz. People are going to tune in now on Thursday night on Impact to see what's happening.
We're going to continue on the phone lines here, and you can join us. Again, as we go to you on the phones, please let us know your name and the location you're calling from. We're going to go to a caller calling to us from the 210 area code. Caller from the 210, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Justin from San Antonio. How you doing?
I'm tremendous. How are you?
Doing very well, doing very well.
What did you think of TNA's Bound for Glory pay-per-view?
Well, basically, I thought the pay-per-view was lackluster. If this was like Summerversary or Genesis, it would be a great pay-per-view, but this is supposed to be their WrestleMania. It's supposed to be their big show of the year. I just thought it was lackluster with the exception of a couple of things. Just, with the Jeff Hardy heel turn, it's not making really too much sense, right now at this point, but overall going forward is going to be good for TNA because, Jeff Hardy, that was their top babyface, in their company, and now he's turning heel. It's kind of reminiscent, again, back to Bash in the Beach 96.
Yeah. Well, would you give the overall show a pass or fail?
I personally would say fail, but going forward in the future, things look bright for TNA.
So the pay-per-view was a fail, and your one grade for the pay-per-view is fail.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that call from down in San Antonio, Texas. David Hero, our first failing score of the evening for tonight's TNA pay-per-view. Again, a couple of newsworthy items that came out of it. Kevin Nash's last match with TNA Wrestling. Kevin Nash going to join us Thursday on Pro Wrestling Report Radio on 540 ESPN. Kevin Nash, the first interview that Nash will give and grant after his departure on Tuesday from TNA Wrestling. Rhino, also done and available for bookings. You can go to pwrshow.com and find out all the information on how to get a hold of Rhino. And I believe, David Hero, that Rhino joined Twitter tonight as well.
Yes, he did. Rhino is Gore on Twitter. And
one Gore or three Gores?
One Gore.
So Rhino is Gore, not Rhino is Gore.
No, right. It's just Rhino is Gore.
Okay, got it.
Jeez, amigo. He was following me, baby. It's on there. You'll get it right.
Indeed. Well, David Hero, you do have to get ready for this big show on Thursday. Kevin Nash, Rhino,
it's gonna be amazing.
Kevin Nash and the Pope. Are you ready for this Pope interview? Why do you sigh? What is that noise I hear every time I say
Is the Pope ready for me? That's
absolutely. He knows what he's getting into. He's ready.
I don't think he does. I don't think he does. You know what? He didn't do a whole lot tonight. He didn't. You'd think if he was the rising star everyone says he is, he would have got the pinfall victory tonight.
Wow.
What are you wowing? It's true.
Just saying.
You know it's true.
All right. Well, David Hero,
amigo.
Thank you for joining us in this first half hour of the wrap-up show, the post-show. Also, be sure to check out the Be the Booker segment on PWR TV at pwrshow.com. You can watch it on demand, see what we thought was going to happen, more specifically what David thought was going to happen with this pay-per-view and the way he would have had it happen. And you'd be surprised at how similar a lot of the outcomes were to what was predicted and what was discussed on Friday's PWR primetime television show. David Hero, talk to you soon. Let's go to our next caller who's calling us from the 516 area code. Caller, you are live here on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive. What's your name and where are you calling from? Caller from the 516. What's your name? Moving on, we're going to go to a caller in the 832 area code. Caller, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Yeah, what up, dog? It's Ricardo from Houston.
Hello, Ricardo from Houston. What'd you think of TNA's Bound for Glory tonight?
You know what? I'm not the biggest TNA fan, but I liked the show. It was actually pretty good.
Does it pain you to admit that? You sound pretty distressed.
Yes, it does, because I do not agree with the booking or the writing that TNA does. I have nothing against the wrestlers. They're just doing their job, but it was pretty good. It was a pretty good pay-per-view, I might say.
It's amazing. You don't want to say that, though. I can hear it in your voice. It's almost like this is an episode of John King on CNN. I'm asking a Republican a question, and you're answering it, but not answering it, but you're answering it. You like the pay-per-view, and you just don't want to admit it.
I didn't order it, but I didn't like it. I liked it, though. I liked it.
Are you surprised by Jeff Hardy making that heel turn tonight?
Very, very surprised. I thought it would be Abyss's old manager or Kurt Angle doing the heel turn. Very surprised with Jeff Hardy with the heel turn.
All right.
And as far as Hogan coming out, that caller was so on the money last week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, it was.
That was the building. I don't get why Jeff Jarrett is in it, though. I don't get it, though, but whatever.
That's what's great about it, is because now you got to find out. So how do you find out? You read the spoilers, or you watch Impact on Thursday.
Well, I'll just read the spoilers because I have the jersey short up. But you made a great point earlier on, Damien, on Twitter. If they would have showed these promos on Reaction instead of today, they would have got a lot more buys for this pay-per-view.
Yeah, and they hopefully didn't finish them in the last 3 days. They had some great video packages on the pay-per-view tonight, and I just don't know why we didn't see those on Thursday at some point, whether it be on Impact and Reaction.
Yeah, if they would have shown those, I think they would have got a lot more buys, but...
Absolutely.
I still wouldn't have bought it, but still.
God, I can hear the hate, Ricardo. You just hate TNA. You hate the fact that they put on a show that you like tonight. That's what it is, huh?
No. I don't hate the wrestlers. I don't blame them for anything. They're just doing their job.
You're doing it again. You're prefacing your like the pay-per-view but statement. And that's fine. That's fine. I'm just having fun with you here. Ricardo, overall pass or fail?
Yeah, sigh. It's a pass.
All right, Ricardo from down in Houston, thank you very much for that phone call. You know, one thing I got to give TNA credit for as well, TNA put on a special show tonight. From the look, from the feel, to the overall presentation, I think they did a good job. Now, one of my pet peeves, I think that the broadcasters and ring announcers and whatnot should have been in tuxedos, but maybe I'm just too old school for that. But it was a brand new look for TNA. Granted, they don't go on the road very often. They did a very good job with the presentation tonight, at least from a visual standpoint. We're continuing the phone calls here on the Pro Wrestling Report, interactive live on Blog Talk Radio and PWRshow.com. We're going to go to a caller in the 215 area code. Caller, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive.
Damien, what's up, dude?
How much? What's your name and where are you calling from?
John, man, from Philadelphia.
John from Philly. What did you think of TNA's pay-per-view tonight?
You know what really brought it around for me was the main event.
Really?
The main event, yeah, the promo before that main event was great. Again, why didn't we see that one?
Right.
That's like those little mistakes that TNA does are why they're still not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that promo was great. The match was great. And everybody's talking about, even you talked about, the NWO thing. Yeah. That, to me, was more of WrestleMania 17. Stone Cold, top babyface in the company. McMahon comes down the aisle. Mm-hmm. You got JR screaming at the top of his lungs, "He sold his soul to the devil." Ah.
Right, yeah.
And this was great. I loved it. I love the fact that, Jeff Hardy's, a heel, and this opens the door to do so much more.
And there you go. There you go right
really
there,
does.
John. That door is open. And it's a matter of what... Go ahead.
If you remember what happened in 2001 after WrestleMania, here comes Triple H. They got the two-man power trip. And then what they do after that? They elevated the Hardys. Mm-hmm. It was great because it opened the door. Then you have Stone Cold going on this heel rampage, and it opened the door for everybody.
Right.
Benoit came in. Jericho came in. So this opens the door to bring up and elevate a lot more talent if they give the guys the opportunity to.
And that is the big if that will only be answered over the course of the next few weeks.
Well,
John, would you give it an overall pass or fail?
I give it a pass. It was good.
Yeah.
The main event, the climax for me, hey, that did it. I was sold.
All right. John from Philadelphia, thank you very much for calling in here to the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive Live. I want to remind all of you who are listening here to us on Blog Talk Radio on this special episode of the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive Live after TNA's Bound for Glory pay-per-view. We are live each and every week on 540 ESPN Radio in Milwaukee and streaming live at pwrshow.com. And our guests this week on our radio show, which is Thursday, are Kevin Nash and the Pope. Both will be our guest this week. Coming up next week, Kurt Angle will be our guest. Kurt Angle, a man as part of that main event tonight on the TNA pay-per-view. Let's go to our next caller, who looks to be calling from the 818 area code. Caller, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
What's up, Damien? It's 9 from L.A. How you doing, buddy?
9 from Los Angeles. I'm tremendous. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
What'd you think of the pay-per-view tonight?
You know, the first half of the pay-per-view, the undercard, was awesome. And I don't usually say that about many undercards.
Yeah.
And then we got to Monsters Ball, and that was actually pretty good, you know, because I knew that Lethal Lockdown had to be big, and they were probably going to use a lot more weapons in that match. So that match had to be a little bit different. And I liked the Van Terminator with the board with barbed wire instead of a usual chair that RVD uses.
Yeah.
And, it was little things like that I really enjoyed about the pay-per-view. And then we got to Lethal Lockdown, and I liked the whole match until they closed the cage.
You liked it until
they
closed the cage?
Well, yeah, because they set it up really well. You know, there was good timing in it. You know, you had Kazarian and Stevie started off, and Stevie said on the last Impact that Kazarian busted his lip open, so it made those two went at each other. Then you put in AJ, he's the star of the group. Then you put in Tommy, they have a feud. Then when you put in Robert Roode, you had to put in James Storm after that because they're a tag team. And it made sense to put in the two heavy guys, Rhino and Matt Morgan, last.
Right.
You know, and I don't know, it was set up really well.
Well, overall, go ahead.
Yes. No, I was just going to say, but then you get to the main event, and we had an awesome match, and here I am watching Bischoff and Hogan limp down to the ring, and it killed it for me. I enjoy the fact that Jeff Hardy is now heel. I was swerved.
Yeah.
I had Kurt Angle turning, and that's all well and good, but when you have Bischoff and Hogan, two established names already, overshadowing your main event, a match that you have three guys busting their butts to actually put on an amazing match for the crowd, then you have these two guys overshadow it. It kind of killed it for me. But, you know, like the other callers have said, you know, we'll see where it goes, and, hey, maybe they'll make something good out of this.
Overall, pass or fail?
You know, I'm going to give it a pass because, like I said, the undercard was pretty good. Monsters Ball was actually pretty solid as well, so I'm going to go with a pass on this one.
All right, thank you, 9 from Los Angeles, for calling in and being a part of the show. Next caller comes to us from the 646 area code. You're live on PWR Interactive.
What's up, Daniel? My name is Jacob.
Hello, Jacob. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from New York City. How you been, man?
Tremendous. How about you?
I'm awesome.
Good. What did you think of the pay-per-view tonight? Pass or fail?
I thought it was awesome. The opening match was a pretty good opener. Then we had the Lethal Lockdown, which was decent enough, but it shouldn't. I mean, those matches need to be at Lockdown. That's what the pay-per-view is made for.
Mm-hmm.
And the main event, I think that's the first time, I believe, that we've seen Jeff Hardy heel.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy. And people saying the new NWO with, but I'll be honest, I don't want to see that. We've seen NWO like 3 variations of them.
Right. And I don't think we're going to see the new NWO. I think they're smarter than that. I think we're going to see, you know what, this really is an angle, a story, a situation that could indeed change the nucleus of the company, could change the direction of all of the storylines within the company. It's not as big as a huge signing. It's not as big as whether it would have been Paul Heyman coming in or when Hogan came in or when Angle came in or when Flair came in. But it could be more substantial than those things because, as we said on Thursday's wrap-up show, it's got all the right players. They've got all the right talent. They've got the foundation. Now they just need to build on it, and perhaps they're going to do that now. We'll see.
I have another question. Who do you think is more entertaining, Eric Young or Santino Marella?
Oh, Santino Marella by a mile.
And Orlando Jordan needs to get off my television. That guy is, oh my gosh. I thought Goldust was worse, but Orlando Jordan, he puts the icing on the cake, that one dude.
Well, there's a pretty big difference between him and Goldust, though.
Yeah, Orlando Jordan's far more worse.
Another passing grade, Jacob out in New York City. Thank you very much for calling in here on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive Live. I want to go to our next caller now, who is calling from the 904 area code. Caller from the 904 area code. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, Damien.
Yes.
Bobby Boucher, Jacksonville, Florida.
Hey, Bobby, how are you?
I'm tremendous. How are you?
Oh, yes, I'm #tremendous. What'd you think of the pay-per-view tonight?
Besides Hardy winning the title, I love that entire ending.
Besides Hardy winning the title, so you like the whole Hardy going heel and aligning himself and being part of they, but you didn't like the fact that he won the belt.
Well, I'm the diabolical hater of Jeff Hardy.
Ah, one of few in this world.
And I'm actually going to be at Impact Monday for taping.
Uh-huh.
And for the first time ever, I'm going to be there.
Okay.
Chanting negative slurs about Hardy and not in the minority.
Well, you might indeed be in the minority, Bobby Boucher. We'll see what happens on Impact this week. I want to ask you one question, though, before we end this call, as we can try to get the rest of our callers in the 8 minutes of showtime we have left. Overall, was it a pass or fail for the pay-per-view on tonight?
If it was any of the other 11 pay-per-views, this was a pass. But because it's their biggest show of the year, fell just short. It's a fail.
All right, Bobby from Florida, thank you so much for calling in. Let's go to a caller now in the 214 area code. Caller, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive.
Hey, Dane, what's going on?
Not much. What's your name and where are you calling from, sir?
Hey, Matt from Texas here.
Dallas,
Matt from actually.
Texas. What'd you think of the pay-per-view?
I thought I'm gonna go ahead and say it was a pass. I love the show. Phone's about ready to go dead, of course.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go ahead and say it was a pass, and I just loved it. It was awesome to have to do that with Hardy because it's never been done before. It's pretty epic to go that way with it. So
that it was, and wrestling fans really want something new.
Yeah.
Really want something new. We got something new.
You could have done it with Angle, but it wouldn't have worked. I mean, it would have worked, but.
All right, sounds like we lost you there, but a passing grade from Matt in Texas here on this pay-per-view. Let's continue on the phone lines here as we round out the show with the rest of your calls. Let's go to a caller in the 509 area code. Caller in the 509 area code. You're live on the Pro Wrestling Report.
I love the show. David.
Go right ahead.
David, I love the show.
David, where are you calling from?
Washington.
All right, David, what did you think of the pay-per-view? Pass or fail?
Pass. I didn't think that was going to be they. I didn't think Jeff Hardy was going to be a part of they.
Okay.
But they kind of surprised me. And I like the opening, the Generation Me and the Motor City Machine Guns. I like the whole pay-per-view. But where do you think Kurt Angle goes from here? Is he going to really retire, or are they going to make it a part of another storyline?
Well, we'll have to find out when Kurt Angle is our guest next Thursday night on the next week on the Pro Wrestling Report. We'll try to find out what Kurt Angle's plans are if we don't find out this week on TNA Impact. He did say going into this, if he did not win, he would retire. He is now faced with that dilemma. Let's go to a caller now. Looks to be calling from the Atlanta area. Caller from the 770 area code. You're live.
Hello?
Hello. Your name and your location, please.
This is Brian from out of Atlanta. How you doing this time Sunday evening, sir?
Brian, I am tremendous. Thank you for calling from the site of WrestleMania 27, Atlanta, Georgia.
That's right, sure is. I sure plan on trying to see it. If I can't make it to the Dome, I'm sure trying to go see it.
Excellent.
I'm a first-time caller, fan of the show.
Thank you.
I like you, Hero, Kyle, everybody on the staff. Been watching all your shows on YouTube about a year now, so
Excellent. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
You're welcome. It's all good. I just wanted to comment on about tonight's show. Well, I guess lightning can strike twice, apparently.
In the same place.
Judging from what happened, Hardy, you know what? I got to take my hat off to him because I never in a million years thought I would see that ever happen.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think that right there trumps the whole Cena losing to Nexus at Hell in a Cell, but that's kind of irrelevant. But that kind of trumps that because who would have thought that as big as he is with the kids, that now that he went and did this, that really, I gotta give it to TNA for this one. They really things got just got a little bit more interesting down in Orlando.
Yeah, it certainly did, and we'll see what happens coming up this Thursday on Impact and subsequent weeks from there. Question for you, overall, was it a passing or failing grade for the pay-per-view?
You know what, just because of the opening match, the RVD Abyss match, the Lethal Lockdown, and the main event with the ending, I'll go ahead and give it a pass. I'll go ahead and give it a pass.
All right, Brian from Atlanta.
One final thing, sir. I'm lead player 999 on Twitter. Follow me. Check me out.
Oh, tremendous. Excellent. We love all of our peeps on Twitter. Yeah, I said peeps. Hey. Anyways, you know what? Overall, Bound for Glory, I thought was a good show, a solid show, and we're going to talk a lot about it on Thursday's radio show, in between our interview with Kevin Nash and the Pope D'Angelo De Niro, both appearing on the show this week. And if you didn't get a chance to, be sure to tune into last week's show where Jeff Jarrett was our guest on our ESPN radio show. The hits just keep on coming from the Pro Wrestling Report. Let's go to our next caller, our final caller of the evening, calling to us from the 857 area code. Caller, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive.
This is Dashling Austin Bowman from Boston.
Bowman, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
All right. I got a feeling you hated it, but tell me what you thought of TNA's Bound for Glory tonight.
I give the show a pass because it wasn't a totally bad show. I think they did a lot of good things. I think they did a lot of things. Abyss just got Sheamus, which was just sad, but you know,
yeah.
The whole base thing is still very kind of confusing. Jeff Hardy joining I feel they did that for shock value, but I don't know where that's going to go in the long term because I don't know. It just reminds me of how they try to turn AJ heel. I don't know if the fans are just gonna go and boo Jeff Hardy like that. They turned Stone Cold heel years when they did it. That doesn't mean the fans booed him.
Right.
Kind of went with whatever he did anyway. I would not be surprised if seeing similar thing happen with Jeff Hardy. But overall, I thought it was a good show. I would give it a pass. I do think they got a lot of explaining to do coming up in the next show on Impact, and
and every wrestling show should have a lot of explaining to do after it goes off the air. So that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if you heard the good news. Royal Rumble is coming to the Garden here in Boston in January.
Oh, tremendous! Royal Rumble. That's the one pay-per-view I've not been able to get to yet. I've been to all the other pay-per-views, but I've not been to the Royal Rumble.
I've been to all of them except for WrestleMania. This will be my second Royal Rumble because I went to the one in 2003.
Tremendous. Well, Bowman, we are out of time. Thank you for calling and giving TNA that passing grade here for Bound for Glory. You know, a lot of people talking about Jeff Hardy's situation, obviously in court and whatnot, and believe me when I say that is not as big a worry as some people are making it out to be. Granted, it's a situation. It's not as big a worry. And as we said, coming up this Thursday, Pro Wrestling Report, just like we did with Mr. Anderson, just like we did with Brian Armstrong, the Road Dogg, just like we've done with so many others, the first interview since its release from TNA Wrestling will be with Kevin Nash this Thursday on our show. And it's Thursday PWR, Thursday Pope. Follow us, favorite the show, and make us your friend here on Blog Talk Radio so that you never miss an episode of the Pro Wrestling Report, radio or television, or our live post shows. I want to thank the dozens of you who called in and the hundreds of you who are listening to us tonight. We truly do this only for you, our fans, and this is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, Time Warner Cable, and always available at pwrshow.com. TNA Bound for Glory, an overall passing grade from the Internet wrestling community, at least on this show. We'll see you Thursday night when Kevin Nash joins us live on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com, PWRshow.com, and it's also Thursday PWR, Thursday Pope. The Pope, Kevin Nash, Thursday night, PWRshow.com. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.